In Mexico, Colonel Hannibal Smith gets captured by two local cops who've teamed up with an untouchable general named Javier Tuco. This guy uses his power to hide his crimes, and now Hannibal's stuck in the middle of their shady plan. While Hannibal's being held captive, the two cops let loose two guard dogs to teach him a lesson. But just as they walked away, Hannibal took his chance. He quickly freed himself from the chair and, using his skills, handcuffed both dogs with ease. After breaking free, Hannibal rushed to Tuco's ranch to save his buddy, Face, who'd been captured and beaten by Tuco and his guys. Face was on a secret mission to take down Tuco solo, but things didn't go as planned. Now, Hannibal was racing to get past the ranch's defenses to save his friend.
That's just sort of how it's...
On his way to the ranch, Hannibal flagged down a car driven by a muscular guy named Bosco. At first, he tried to threaten Bosco for a ride, but Bosco wasn't having it. So, Hannibal took action. That's when he spotted a matching tattoo on Bosco's arm, proof that they were both rangers, comrades who shared a bond as soldiers. Realizing they were on the same team, Hannibal and Bosco teamed up to save Face. They moved fast, causing chaos at Tuco's ranch and taking out several guards. With courage and skill, the three of them finally made their escape. They made their way to the nearest military hospital to recruit an eccentric pilot named Captain Murdoch, who also came from the Ranger unit. Murdoch was famous for his bravery and amazing flying skills, but his unpredictable nature often made his teammates a bit wary.
I'm worried. Thank you, sir.
As Murdoch, Hannibal, Bosco, and Face took off in the medical helicopter, Tuco's men suddenly attacked. Thanks to Murdoch's skills as a pilot, they managed to dodge the first wave of fire. But it wasn't long before Tuco showed up in his helicopter and chased them down. During the chase, Murdoch showed off his incredible piloting skills with some risk maneuvers, flying the helicopter low to dodge Tuco's gunfire. Smartly, Murdoch lured Tuco into US airspace, where military fighter jets hit Tuco's helicopter with two missiles that took it out. Fast forward 8 years later, and Face, Hannibal, Bosco, and Murdoch are now a highly respected elite combat unit in the military. They're the only team that has completed 80 missions in 8 years, which earned them the nicknames the A-Team. While on a mission in Iraq, Hannibal gets approached by a CIA agent named Lynch, who tells him about a criminal organization that has a counterfeiting plate. Lynch asks for Hannibal's team's help to steal the plate and the cash, which is worth over $1 billion. By the way, they're planning to move the money tonight to a spot in Baghdad. At the same time, Captain Carissa Sosa goes to see her ex-boyfriend, Face. She warns Face not to try stealing the plate and cash being moved that night. If Face and his team go ahead with it, they'll face serious consequences. Hannibal then fills his commander, General Morrison, in on the mission Agent Lynch assigned. Instead of shutting it down, General Morrison backs the mission and agrees to keep it under wraps, turning it into a risk covert operation. After the negotiations, Hannibal and Bosco ran into an elite unit called Black Forest, led by Pike. This crew had a scary reputation and was no ordinary team. Their skills in covert operations could mess up Hannibal's secret mission, even though they weren't fully aware of what Hannibal was after.
Smith, what happened?
At night, the A-Team kicked off their operation by hijacking a truck loaded with plates and cash. They pulled it off without a hitch, tossing the containers into the river to be picked up by a helicopter flown by Murdoch. After grabbing the evidence, the vehicle carrying General Morrison blew up out of nowhere. Because of that, Hannibal, Face, Bosco, and Murdoch got captured and were put on military trial for what they did. Hannibal and the team tried to defend themselves by saying the mission was a direct order from General Morrison. But the military higher-ups said there wasn't any solid proof for that claim since General Morrison was already gone. In the end, Hannibal and his 3 teammates got a dishonorable discharge. 8 months later, while serving time in a military prison in Colorado, Hannibal got a visit from Agent Lynch. He revealed that Pike was probably going to sell the plates on the black market with help from some mysterious Arab official. Lynch needed Hannibal's help to take on Black Forest and get the plates back. Hannibal agreed but asked for a reward to wipe out all criminal records for himself and his 3 pals. After they reached an agreement, Lynch handed Hannibal a special cigar. This cigar had chemicals that would put Hannibal in a temporary death-like state. Just when his body was about to be cremated, Hannibal suddenly woke up and pulled off his clever escape plan to break out of prison. Hannibal then headed to a military prison in Florida to bust Face. With a solid plan in mind, he managed to break Face free. After rescuing Face, Hannibal and Face planned to free Bosco, who was being moved to another military prison on a high-security bus. Hannibal and Face then forced open the back door of the bus, letting Bosco jump out. They quickly escaped with Bosco, leaving the locked bus behind on the road. Next, the three of them headed to Germany to free Murdoch, who was in a mental hospital. But their plans hit a snag when Captain Sosa showed up to stop the rescue. Even with Sosa there, Hannibal, Bosco, and Face didn't back down. They charged in with a military vehicle, pulled Murdoch from the hospital, and bolted away from Sosa's pursuit.
Chris, where are you at? Hey,
They then made their way to the local US military base and stole a Hercules aircraft with a tank unit, planning to leave Germany. While flying, 2 drones chased them, firing continuously. The Hercules got hit, but just before it blew up, they managed to escape using the tank on board. After floating in the air with the tank for a bit, they finally landed in a lake and immediately continued their journey to Berlin. Meanwhile, Captain Sosa found out that the person who busted Hannibal out of prison was Lynch. Sosa quickly contacted Lynch and warned him not to get involved in Hannibal's case, or it could mess with his position. Realizing Sosa might mess up Hannibal's mission, Lynch started planning how to deal with Sosa. In the meantime, Hannibal came up with a new plan with his 3 pals. He suspected Lynch would take out anyone getting in the way of this mission. So, Hannibal told Face to grab Captain Sosa, secretly warning her to follow his orders.
I find you first.
After making sure Captain Sosa was safe, Hannibal, Bosco, and Murdoch kicked off their plan to steal the plates now held by Pike and a mysterious Arab official inside an office building. During the assault, Hannibal and Bosco used smoke to create a diversion, causing chaos among the guards. Amid all the chaos, Hannibal tossed the Arab official out of a window, and Murdoch skillfully caught him with a helicopter that was already hovering in the air.
Murdoch, here comes the air.
After grabbing the plates, Hannibal tried to escape using a rope from the tall building. But during the escape, the plates slipped from his hands and fell to the floor below. Hannibal quickly told Bosco to get them. Unfortunately, when Bosco finally got a hold of the plates, Pike shot him, injuring Bosco and making it hard for him to get away.
I'm out of here.
Just as Pike was about to finish off Bosco, Hannibal suddenly showed up and saved him. Hannibal quickly tossed Bosco into a car so they could flee. Not willing to accept defeat, Pike chased them through the city streets. But during the chase, Pike found himself surrounded by Captain Sosa and local police who were ready to stop him. Hannibal and Bosco then headed back to their headquarters in a warehouse by the lake. There, Murdoch and Face were already waiting, having brought the mysterious Arab official back to the base. When they took off the official's mask, they were shocked to see that the person was actually General Morrison in disguise. Morrison explained that he had made a deal with Lynch and Pike to steal the money plates. But he betrayed Lynch by secretly teaming up with Pike. Their plan was to print unlimited counterfeit money for personal gain. Fearing Lynch would take advantage, Morrison faked his own death so he could enjoy his loot without anyone interfering.
Trey, your oldest living friend.
Fantastic idea.
Hannibal then called Lynch to let him know that the plates held by Morrison were secured. But because of his deep hatred for Morrison, Lynch ordered his men to carry out an airstrike to wipe out the A-Team along with Morrison in one go. The airstrike took out Morrison, but Hannibal and his 3 companions managed to survive by jumping into the lake and dodging the huge explosion. Meanwhile, Captain Sosa, who was trying to track down Pike, suddenly ran into Lynch. Lynch grabbed Pike and shoved him into a car, then suggested teaming up with Pike to get the plates and take down the A-Team. Hannibal was running low on ideas for dealing with Lynch and clearing his name from the accusations. Face then threw out a bunch of plans and asked Hannibal to set up a meeting with Sosa at the Los Angeles dock. Face also asked Hannibal to let Sosa know they still had a copy of the plates and Morrison, which they could trade for their freedom. Hannibal quickly got in touch with Sosa, but the call was tapped by Lynch, who now knew where they were meeting. Realizing Lynch had caught on to their meeting plans, Face came up with a backup strategy. He suggested Murdoch dress up as Morrison while making a diversion to throw off Lynch's guys at the dock. Once all the plans were set, they met up at the dock. Face kicked things off by putting Hannibal and the fake Morrison into a container. Then he moved 3 other containers around to confuse Lynch and Pike, making it tough for them to find Hannibal. When Lynch's attention started to shift, Bosco rolled out 2 remote-controlled SUVs. Lynch's guys fired at the vehicles until they flipped over. As they got closer to check it out, Bosco blew them up, taking out Lynch's men except for Pike, who managed to survive. Seeing his boss in trouble, Pike fired a rocket at the ship. The explosion sent dozens of containers flying off the ship and into the sea. Pike then spotted Face and managed to corner him among the containers. Just as Pike was about to finish Face, Bosco showed up and took down Pike by throwing him down. Meanwhile, Lynch finally found Hannibal in the container. The two fought fiercely until Lynch got the upper hand. Lynch then shot the fake Morrison, who was actually Murdoch, making Hannibal furious and attack Lynch again. In the heat of the fight, Face, Captain Sosa, and some special forces showed up and surrounded Lynch. Lynch ended up cornered and had no choice but to surrender, getting arrested by the authorities. Bosco then took off Murdoch's mask and checked that Murdoch was alright since he was actually wearing a steel helmet that protected him. The next morning, Lynch was about to get detained while the A-Team was recaptured for escaping from prison. Before they were taken back, Sosa pretended to kiss Face but actually handed him the key to the handcuffs. As the A-Team was driven away in a police car, Face pulled out the key Sosa had given him to free himself. With confidence, he declared they were now a team of mercenary special forces ready for any mission, no matter how much they were paid. And that's how the film wraps up.